You feel nothing. You're scrolling through old photos on your phone. Those moments that once meant everything. And now, calm emptiness, almost indifference. Is something wrong with me? This question doesn't come from sadness. It comes from its absence. You expected to feel something and didn't. People around you expect to see you hurting. They ask how you're doing with that tone of voice already carrying the answer they want to hear. They expect to catch you crying or at least sad, or at minimum too thoughtful, but you're fine, genuinely fine. And this creates a strange discomfort, as if absence of pain were evidence of something darker, as if only suffering proved you're human. There's a silent script everyone follows after loss. You should miss them. You should check your phone waiting for messages that don't come anymore. You should hear that song and fall apart. And when that doesn't happen, when you simply move on, there's a strange guilt that starts growing. Not guilt for what you did, guilt for what you're not feeling. You try to force yourself to feel. You revisit memories. You search for that pain that would confirm you're like everyone else, but the pain doesn't come. And the more you search, the more that fear grows, whispering in the back, maybe I'm different in a bad way. Maybe normal people miss someone and I don't because there's something broken in me. Maybe I'm cold, worse than cold. The real fear isn't being alone. It's discovering you've always been capable of being alone without effort. That letting go doesn't hurt, that you can cut ties without bleeding. And this, in the social script of how love and loss should work, seems monstrous, seems psychopathic, seems too wrong to be just different. But there's a fundamental difference between not feeling what they expected from you and never having felt anything for anyone. And this difference changes everything. There are two people who don't miss someone, but not for the same reasons. The first person broke up and felt relief, remembers clearly why it didn't work, can list the moments where they realized it wasn't working, recognizes there was real connection once, but that connection wore out, became incompatible, became weight. When looking back, sees complete relationship, genuine beginning, complicated middle, necessary end, doesn't miss it because they processed it, because they accepted it, because they understood some things end not by failure but by nature. The second person also doesn't miss anyone. But when you ask why they broke up, the answer is vague. It wasn't incompatibility. It wasn't where. It was just boredom or convenience, or because something better showed up. And when you look at this person's history, there's a strange pattern. No relationship left a real mark. All were functional, strategic, useful while they lasted, disposable when they weren't anymore. It's not that this person processed losses. It's that there was never anything to process. Real connection never existed. Only well-performed simulation of connection. The difference isn't in the absence of pain. It's in what existed before the absence. One is a period, the other is a starting point. And when you don't miss someone, the question isn't whether you feel or not. It's whether you ever felt anything real before you stopped feeling. You wake up one day and realize, I didn't think about that person today. Not yesterday. Maybe not last week. And when you try to force the memory, it comes without weight. Like an old photo you recognize but don't feel. As if it were from another life, not yours. You think this happened suddenly, but it didn't. This started before, long before, when you were still together. When you still woke up next to that person but didn't feel what you used to feel. Those moments where you'd look and think, what am I doing here? Not with anger, not with hurt, just with a strange and uncomfortable clarity. The clarity of someone participating in something that already ended, but no one admitted out loud yet. You started saying goodbye gradually, without noticing. Each fight you didn't have energy to solve, each silence you let stay, each disappointment you swallowed without comment. You were leaving inside, brick by brick, while your body was still there. You were processing grief before grief was official. You were feeling the loss while the person was still by your side. And there was that moment, that specific moment where something broke, and you knew it wouldn't come back. It wasn't shouting, it wasn't betrayal, it wasn't anything cinematic. It was just tiredness. A tiredness so deep it wasn't even pain anymore. Just the desire to stop, to not try anymore, to accept you tried, and it didn't work. And that continuing to try was disrespect to yourself. The day it officially ended, you had already cried everything, alone in traffic, in the shower, on those nights where you pretended to be sleeping but were just lying in the dark, processing. The grief happened. It just wasn't when people expected it to happen. It wasn't after. It was during. That's why you don't miss them now. Not because you're cold, but because you already went through this, already felt it, already processed it, already accepted it. The body knows when something ended, and yours already knew before you admitted it. But this process doesn't happen the same way for everyone. It depends on how the end was. 3 people don't miss someone for completely different reasons. The first one tried, really tried, but the more they tried, the more obvious it became. You didn't fit. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was just incompatible. Like trying to force puzzle pieces that seem like they'll fit, but never truly fit. You twisted, adjusted, pressed, and the more you forced, the more you wore down the edges. When it ended, what came wasn't pain. It was relief. That deep relief of finally stopping pretending something worked when it didn't. You don't miss it because there wasn't anything to miss. There was effort, not connection. The second person started saying goodbye months before the official breakup. Each fight was a small goodbye. Each silence was grief in slow motion. Each broken promise was one more piece of you leaving inside. You stayed, but weren't there anymore. Physically present, emotionally absent. And when the end came, when finally someone said out loud what both already knew for a while, you didn't fall apart. Because you had already fallen apart. Alone, gradually, in silence. You don't miss it because you already missed it. The grief happened. It just wasn't at the moment people think it should have happened. The third person left something threatening. There were moments where fear was real, where you realized staying meant putting yourself at risk, boundaries being crossed, safety compromised. And when you finally managed to leave, when the door finally closed, what came was internal celebration. Here it's not coldness, it's survival. Your organism celebrated because it recognized you're safe now. You don't miss it because the body won't let you miss what destroyed you. It's protection, not pathology. Same absence, 3 natures, 3 reasons, all human, all valid, all completely different from what comes next, because there's a moment where absence of feeling stops being response and becomes pattern. It's not one thing, it's several things. Together, it's not just this person, it's everyone, it always was. You look back and can't find a single relationship where the bond was genuine. All were functional, strategic, useful while they lasted, disposable when they weren't anymore. It's not just now, it's always been. Since adolescence, since the first attempts at connection, you never understood why people cry when they break up, why they call in the middle of the night, why they beg for one more chance. You always observed this from outside, trying to understand the logic of a feeling that never inhabited you. It's not context. It's you in every context, with different people at different moments in life in completely different circumstances. The pattern repeats, always. You enter, it works for a while, you leave, without mark, without scar, without anything indicating that was real. It's not that you stopped feeling, it's that you never felt, and spent your entire life thinking what you felt was what others felt, until you realized others feel something completely different, something you recognize exists but can't access. Like a colorblind person looking at color, everyone sees except you. When absence is generalized, timeless and decontextualized, nature changes. It's not response. It's structure. It's not end of process, it's absence of process from the beginning. And there's something strange that happens when you're afraid of being like this. You're afraid of not feeling, and this fear says more than you imagine. Because there's something strange about this fear. You're not afraid of losing someone. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of what the absence of fear means. You're worried about the fact you're not worried. And this is a sophisticated emotional response, one that few stop to analyze. You question yourself, compare your reaction to what you think would be normal, look for signs you should be feeling more, feel guilty for not feeling guilty enough. And the more you question, the more that voice grows saying, something's wrong with me. I'm not how I should be. I'm too cold, too distant, broken somehow. But all this worry, it itself is evidence that you're not what you're afraid of being. Who's truly cold doesn't lose sleep over it, doesn't look for this video, doesn't stay awake wondering if they're too cold, doesn't fear being a monster, because monsters don't worry about being monsters, they simply are, without questioning, without anguish, without all this weight about the meaning of their own absence. You're worried about the impact of your emotional absence. You're thinking about how you think, evaluating your reactions, comparing with standards, feeling discomfort with the dissonance. This is exactly what people without empathy don't do. The fear of being cold is paradoxically proof you're not, because real coldness doesn't come with fear. It comes with total indifference, including indifference about one's own indifference. Your fear doesn't condemn you, it absolves you. So what really differentiates? What separates someone who doesn't miss from someone who never felt anything? The difference isn't in what you feel now, it's in what you felt before. You who don't miss have history, living memories of genuine connection. Remember the moment where something inside you opened, where vulnerability was real, where fear of losing existed. You felt deeply. You just don't feel anymore because you processed, accepted, crossed through. Who never felt doesn't have this. There was never real connection, never genuine vulnerability, never fear of losing because there was never anything real to lose. Only performance, convincing representation of feelings that never truly inhabited. The line isn't about intensity of what you feel today, it's about capacity of what you felt once. Not missing after is conclusion of process. Never having felt is absence of process from always. One is period, other is permanent starting point, and you know which side you're on, not because someone told you, but because you remember. Remember having felt, remember having cared, remember having feared losing. You just don't remember with pain anymore. You remember with acceptance, like someone looking at a life phase that already passed and recognizes, that was real, but it's not mine anymore. You're not cold for not suffering with absence. You're complete, processed, accepted, moved on. This isn't deficit, it's functioning. People confuse capacity to detach with incapacity to connect. They're opposites. Who never connected doesn't need to detach. You needed to and did. This doesn't make you less human. It makes you human who finished processing something many are still processing. It makes you someone who knows the difference between not feeling anymore and never having felt. This was just one of the observable patterns in human behavior. In the video appearing on screen now, you'll discover another aspect most people don't notice about themselves. Click to continue.